Hello, welcome to TrueHoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Happy to be back. In
Yeah,
full swing of things, back into the continental U.S. All good.
yeah. You spent some time in jolly old England for your
Yeah.
60th birthday. How was that? Did the Thorpe boys get into any trouble overseas?
No, it was magical. Absolutely. You've been to London. I've only been like for one day. What a beautiful city. Could not have had a better, like literally every second was perfect. Never a bump, which, when you travel, sometimes there's some
Sure.
bumps, nothing. Yeah, it's just a great place, amazing food, enjoyed a lot of pubs. I don't really love beer. I discovered a new beer.
Oh,
I maybe ironically, somewhat ironically, it was a Japanese. It's called Asahi. It's very famous. It's a gigantic, billion
hmm.
dollar business. They have a super dry Asahi. I took a Ted Lasso tour in Richmond,
How was that?
and we went to his pub.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was great, and we went to his pub, the pub he always goes to, and which looks just like it does in the show.
yeah.
And I had a Japanese beer, and I liked it. At 12 in the afternoon, whatever. So yeah, it's a great spot. Yeah, really,
Yes.
really beautiful place. Can't wait to go back.
Very nice, very, very enjoyable city. Super cosmopolitan, of course.
Yeah,
No, it's always good when you, and more so than London, right? It was the time with your brothers and your wife and their wives, and just
for
enjoying
sure.
some.
We had a group of 10. We all had Benny Hill sweatshirts on my last day there, with a button that talked about me being 60, and people loved it. The Thorpe brothers were adorable. I can tell you that. 60, 58, well, almost 58, and almost 55. So yeah, we're getting it. We're getting there. We're getting it up in age.
But you are enjoying life together still, and that is what is important. That is what matters the
Very
most.
lucky. Yeah. Unfortunately, it came back to this fucking country, and don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. It's been rough.
Sorry, I could not solve the world's issues while you were gone. I
Yeah.
apologize.
Son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. Yeah. I will tell you, I went to Churchill's Museum. Have you ever been there?
No.
Pretty incredible place. And I appreciated that they didn't gloss over the whole India should be under
Hmm.
our jurisdiction
Hmm.
for everything. They nailed it head on. Pretty racist guy, believed in empires and all
Hmm.
that. Was still very important winning the war, obviously, but um the war room at the map room where you can see everything, it
Hmm.
still exists the way it did the last day of the war.
Yeah.
That was kind of emotional, knowing what everyone had to go through to get us delivered from the Nazis. And now we get back and see what we're doing here. It's pretty disheartening.
Yeah.
But
History.
luckily we're in the business of basketball, and so that
Yeah.
allows me to focus on that.
Yeah, for sure. History has a strange way of repeating
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, it is the world of basketball. We are in the sprint stretch run of the season now. Just about, I don't know, less than 30 games now, somewhere
Yeah.
in that
Less than
range.
30 for like
For-
23, 24.
yeah.
Most teams. Yeah.
So we're really in that sprint mode, and teams hoping to get healthy if they can, solidify seeds and move themselves forward. You yesterday on TrueHoop.com, which everybody should subscribe to, updated your championship bus. And David, I have a question for you. Are
Yeah.
the Warriors and Lakers really legit title contenders? What is happening right now?
Yeah, I would use the word legit with lowercase l. I wouldn't, I don't think they're likely. But I've been around a little bit, Jarod, and I've seen what LeBron can do. I've seen what Luka can do. I've seen what Steph Curry can do. And the Warriors in their Cuisinart. So given how those teams are playing and also who they have to play. So I made the comment, I think in the article, if they were in the East, I would not have them
Mm-hmm.
as contenders. I don't think it's likely they get by both Boston
Cleveland and Boston. Mm-hmm.
But OKC and Denver are more flawed to me. OKC because of lack of experience in the playoffs, because they are amazing, and Denver's lack of depth, which did not hurt them 2 years ago. It doesn't mean necessarily it won't hurt them now. And so because of that, and I think Memphis is very flawed.
Mm-hmm.
Houston didn't even make my list. Memphis did barely. Yep. I think Luka, LeBron as a combination, they're probably short a center. I think JJ's done a great job, and I think he should get some COI votes. We'll talk about that. I don't think he deserves to win it, but I think he deserves some votes. So I just, because they have LeBron and Luka, I give them, an outside chance, but it's not likely. Same as Golden State. They're playing much better, but I don't think they're likely to do it.
Aside from Jokic, LeBron and Luka are the two best problem solvers in the NBA, right?
I think that's exactly right.
There is nothing LeBron James has not seen on a basketball court that's going to be like, I don't know what to do here, right? Like, and then Luka is just fucking incredible and can make every fucking pass and shot, and it's just like, oh. Right. So in any series,
and he's motivated.
And he's motivated.
And looks a little leaner.
Maybe it's the purple. Illusion. Maybe it's the purple and gold and slimming him down a little bit.
I agree. Maybe it's the purple with the gold trim. I agree. You might be right. Nevertheless, I just thought he looked a little bit like you. When you're very heavy, the weight can come off fast. Yeah. You can't get to your optimum weight fast, but you can cut significant weight and look much better very quickly. So if indeed he was heavier, he just looks thinner now to me anyway.
Yeah. No, and so, look, with that said, with Luka and LeBron, right, Luka can be the best player in every series that they go for. And if that is the case and LeBron is operating at a high level and their role players are scoring, sure, they can beat anybody. And you couple back in that is if SGA is hurt or anybody on OKC is hurt or dinged up, that's a major boon for either the Lakers or the Warriors. And then if we go to the Warriors side, obviously, what their Cuisinart does. I talked about this with Henry. The Golden State's biggest problem was whenever Steph Curry was off the floor, it was fucking disaster, just chaos.
Yeah.
It's not even, they had no one competent, David, just to be average and hold the lead. Now they have someone more than competent to be the player to play on the floor when he's off. So it kind of helps, right, having Jimmy there, because you can even increase the lead possibly.
Well, he's also a very good problem solver.
Yes.
Yeah, he's one of those elite guys in the playoffs. He's done it a bunch of times with not great talent around him, really. And so it's going to, he's still working his way through, but they definitely look better. I think they found their identity for much of this year defensively. And that's really important. Again, very outside chance.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, because OKC, I think, has got that experience flaw. And also, they just don't rebound very good. Jalen Williams is a very undersized 4. How does Chet and Isaiah do well in the playoffs together? We really don't have any idea. And that's a concern. So that's why I think Golden State, because of the lack of a superpower, I think they have a chance to, them and the Lakers can maybe do some things otherwise I wouldn't guess that they could do.
The other thing about OKC, and it's kind of simplistic, but oftentimes in the playoff, it comes down to this. They're going to give Lou Dort and players like that all the open shots they want. Can those guys consistently hit at a high clip that they have been doing for most of the regular season, though Dort has been struggling of late, right? So is he able to, in the playoffs, make teams pay for not thinking he's someone they have to worry about?
Yeah, I don't want to make it seem like there's some kind of bad team. I don't think you think that either. Yeah. Last night I was watching them really struggle against Brooklyn and right in your neck of the woods. And then they just stormed. They were down 10. Next thing you know, they're up 10, 12.
Went like a crazy run.
Yeah, and Shea is beyond incredible. J-Dub is still a work in progress to me in the playoffs. We don't know.
Yep.
This is why I think there's a flaw there. There's scars that need to be gotten, received, beaten.
Jimmy, Draymond, and Steph and Looney have all the scars. Every single one of them.
All those guys. And and Steph, obviously. So I just don't think they've gone through much. I did make the point in the article, I don't know if it came out or not, that I think they are going to benefit from the complete breakdown. Oh my goodness, they were up big. Oh, Minnesota. 24-point lead blown in a quarter. I think that's good for them. I think coming off last year's upset loss in the second round, they'd have been better off winning 50 games this year and fighting through some stuff. Man, it's all puppy dogs and ice cream there in OKC. And then it wasn't in that game. And that's why I was glad to see them kind of come back against Brooklyn late and put them away, which was good. They need to go through some of that. They need more scars. It's not easy. And to be more technical, or maybe more practical and realistic, there's a sense of calmness when you've already had your heart ripped out before. That when it's happened again, you just, I've been here before. I need to do this and this. And when it hasn't happened, more panic, more panicky anyway. I can speak as a dad too. It's not the same the second or third time your kid has a fever or whatever. You're like, okay, here's what we have to do.
Right.
And So that's why I thought, like, when Boston blew up 2-1 with game 4 at home against Golden State a few years ago, and they lose 3 straight games, last year when Indiana's just punching them in the face,
They were
time in,
okay.
time out, they won the last 2 minutes of every game, and now Indiana didn't. So we'll see how that affects them next year. And Boston's gone through that a few times because they've lost Eastern Conference Finals as well. So I think that they're more resolved to deal with, and I don't think OKC has gone through that. So that's why games like the other night, and it can actually help them, I think.
Yeah, it's about the weight of expectations, right? They are now expected because they've been dominating the league and so far ahead in all the advanced metrics. So we expect you to know, how do you handle that, right? Yeah. Again, all those teams we mentioned, they know how to handle it because they've done it, right? They failed with the expectations, succeeded, gone through all the scars. Oklahoma City just hasn't had the runway of doing all that yet. Now, this could be the year where it happens. Who knows, right?
For sure.
It has to play out. We got to see. We got to see what happens.
Yeah, I normally think teams need to fail more than that they have failed before they succeed. It's not a hard, fast law.
Right.
It's just my general eyewitness account of what anecdotal accounts of what I witnessed. They just haven't paid enough dues yet, so to speak. But that doesn't mean they won't win at all. They certainly are capable of doing it. The other, Denver is, you'll lose any of their starting 5 and they're, milk toast. Plus Jokic.
Yeah.
So, so OKC is great, but the door is open right now.
And, speaking of other contenders, we have Denver, a team that's won a championship, right? So they've gone through those scars themselves.
Yep.
We were very concerned about them last year. The depth was an issue. Jamal Murray was not playing well. He has since rebounded and is playing much better. Michael Porter Jr. playing better. Christian Braun is a plus player in terms of metrics for the first time in his career. We still have depth concerns, but maybe they won't matter because if those guys are all healthy and playing, and Jokic being the best player in the world, that could be enough.
I watched them play the other day after they lost to the Lakers. They had won 9 straight. They lost to the Lakers. Jokic took like 7 shots, had a lot of assists, but took 7 shots. The Lakers just didn't guard people. They packed the paint. It really worked. And Denver struggled. Aaron Gordon shot well, but as a team, they struggled. Then they play Indiana on the second night of a back-to-back for Indiana. And we're blowing Indiana out. Indiana is always, as often as the case when you're in the second night of a back-to-back, you kind of catch a wind at some point. They did. They were getting blown out. They made it a close game. Zeke Naji hit huge threes. So I thought, all right, well, if they can get that from their 7th guy, or 6th guy, that's encouraging. But they definitely are short-handed. That starting 5, though, is humming. And Jokic had 19 assists in that game.
Ooh, he
looks to me like a top 5 player ever now. Now, we'll give it, over the course of his career, we'll see where he gets.
Right.
But right now, he's playing as well as any 5 players I've ever seen at their prime.
Yeah.
He's just incredible.
What he can do on a court is just, again, we talk about problem solvers. I mean, he's the
best.
He's incredible. And again, being 7 feet tall also helps because now I'm super huge and hold the ball way up here and I can see where everything's happening and get the ball where it needs to go. It's just brilliant.
And also he misses a shot, you're shocked. He just doesn't miss much around the rim from 15 feet. He lives in the middle of the floor. Excuse me, I think we put in the article his shot chart, which is so much in the middle, which means everyone's one pass away.
Right.
There's
talk about that, David, the importance of your office. Hockey fans know, right? Behind the net was long considered Wayne Gretzky's office throughout his entire career, right?
I didn't know that. Is that right?
Puck, right?
Oh, that's cool.
He can see everything, where to pass, where the cuts. Middle of the floor is the same thing, right? If that's your office, like everything is, you can see everything happening around you.
Well, it's not just seeing everything. It's just, so we talk about, there's a term we use in basketball defense called off your man towards the ball. So when the ball's on let's say the right side of the floor and my guy's on the left wing, I'm going to be off my man towards the paint, towards the ball. I can't be in the paint more than 2.9 seconds, but I'm moving up and towards. If Jokic wants to throw it across court, well, by the time my guy catches the ball, I should be arrived back into contesting positions. And so, but when you're in the middle, everyone's one pass away. So what Jokic does cross court, that's really 2 passes away. Whether you swing it, or throw it all the way across the court, it's effectively 2 passes. The defense can arrive and everyone's square again. The defense is whole. They're set. When you're in the middle of the court, you'll still be off the tours because that's Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of leaning up, or you're trying to deny Murray coming off a DHO, and so you overplay him. Now it's quick backdoor layup. Everything's one quick pass away to score. When I talk to players about Denver, I talk to them about you have to resist the urge to fight to keep your man from catching the ball up the court, because he's just going to go backdoor and Jokic is going to deliver it perfectly all the time, and you're not going to be able to recover. Neither can your teammates. So you have to just live with them going up the court to catch. So then they can curl off of him and shoot the three like MPJ and Murray do so well. And that's a problem. And of course, you say Christian Brown playing well. Mm-hmm. So, Jokic understands I need to live in the middle of the court. And then I'm super effective as a scorer. And also, all my teammates are one lightning quick pass away from getting a quick bucket or a quick three.
Yep.
And no one's been able to solve it when they play that way.
And those guys know how to play off of him, right? They know, right? When they give the ball, when he has the ball, they're not just standing there; they're moving, right? Because they know he's going to pass it right to the spot. I love the term in football where quarterbacks throw a guy open, right? Jokic does that a lot too, right?
All the time.
Throw a player open all the time.
Yeah, good play. My son used to do that. Good players can do that. Jokic obviously at a very super special level, and also they're getting to be a little opportunistic. I noticed Aaron Gordon on occasion will race and then seal his. He's a big man.
He's huge,
and he'll seal a smaller guy under the rim. I don't remember him doing that earlier in his career in Denver. He's doing that now. It's just another way for them to score. And that's what I think is key, is you got Jokic doing his thing, Murray starting to shoot great, MPJ, also driving, not just shooting, which is helpful. Christian Brown making easy plays. Aaron Gordon shooting high percentage from three, and then bullying guys in the paint. There's a lot of weapons here to try to solve, and that's not easy to do, and Jokic is the key guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, we're looking at those teams right now as we head down the stretch run of the season. David, a team that I mentioned a few weeks ago and I gave them their props, but I want to give them their props again and talk about their head coach.
Detroit.
Is the Detroit Pistons. Winners of 8 straight, beat Boston last night by 20, maybe? Drilled them. And any one game, whatever. But I am just so impressed with Detroit. 10-5 in the last 15, a net rating of 7.6. David, they are on pace for 46 wins this year. They had 14 last year. He may not win it, but JB Baker's, I'm actually going to argue he should win it. Given what those teams' expectations were, which were not high, to have them in the playoffs, a top 6 seed, I bet his turnaround, if they win 46, that's going to be the best season turnaround from last year to this year than any other head coach that wins Coach of the Year.
Yeah. Well, listen, he deserves credit. Cade Cunningham,
of course, is healthy and back.
And I'm not saying JB isn't part of that. Injuries, I think, were more the part of it. He just has never been himself since he's been in the NBA. And now we're seeing, kind of the full boat of what Cade can do. And they're competing really hard. They bring a very physical sense, which I credit JB. JB is kind of irascible, belligerent. I don't know if he is in real life. This is the character he's playing, and it's working. The team is reflective of him. They just they're kind of bullying. They're kind of bullying people.
Kind of like a young Houston Rock. Oh, Houston's young, but like similar to the Rockets in that way, right? Sort of very physical, get into you.
No, and very much athletic, and they both have a Thompson twin, as it turns out.
Yeah.
But to me, we could talk Coach of the Year. It's a small list.
It's very small.
He's certainly way up there. What Kenny Atkins has done is
it's incredible.
Pretty amazing. I'd say I'll leave it like this. If JB were to win, I would not complain at all.
I wouldn't care. Yeah, no, it's really him and if either he or Kenny win it, there's no complaints.
I think probably those two are the best picks right now. Yeah, with 20 plus games to go. Yeah,
no, it's just incredible. And happy for Detroit fans who haven't had a whole lot to cheer about for a long time. So, kudos for them. The Knicks. I was thinking about them a lot lately, just because they're winning, but it's almost like they're barely winning, David.
They barely beat Philly.
And Philly is a train wreck. And look, they're 11-4 in the last 15. They got the record as what it is. Of course, we talked about it ad nauseum. I don't love the minutes that the guys are playing. It's just way too many. But I got to give Cat his props. He's been playing really well for them. Defensively, David, they're just not a Tibbs team. Defensively, they're like 17th or 18th in just defensive rating, which is horrendous.
And also lacking offensive rebounding, which is a big It was a big part of their thing last year.
With
Their
Hartenstein,
defensive presence is bad, and their offensive rebounding presence is. They're both down from last year. Those are important things. Now they make up for with potentially the shooting of Cat and Brunson playing great, and Anunoby and Bridges and all that. But what you're getting to is they're going to be a 3 seed.
They are, and you
Detroit,
know who the 6 seed is
right now.
Right now,
how far is Detroit from Milwaukee? A couple games back, just maybe 2.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, not far.
So
I'm just imagining in my mind, if it's Detroit and New York, David, could the unthinkable happen? Could the Pistons upset the New York Knicks in round 1?
It would be a huge upset because of the lack of experience that Detroit has. And but nevertheless, when you run out of gas, you run out of gas. And I mean, the Pacers destroyed the Knicks in Game 7 when they were so exhausted and beat up. That was round 2. But it's in the realm of possible. I wouldn't say it's whereas I don't think Cleveland and Boston can lose their first round. I think the Knicks can.
And by the way, Milwaukee and Detroit are tied 15 and a half games back. So they're not even, it's not even a game. They're like literally tied. So
and that means they're like a game back of Indiana.
Yes.
Yeah. So Detroit is a 4 seed, then JB beats Atkinson. There you go. Man, gets the 4 seed, he gets coach of the year.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And then they get waxed by Cleveland.
Which is fine. They are ahead of schedule. No, because they're ahead of schedule. And going into we talked about it before the start of the show with getting your scars. Part of getting your scars is getting waxed in the playoffs. And just realizing, what everybody says is true. It is so much different in the postseason. Yeah, but you have to experience that. No one can tell you. You got to get your brains kicked in, and then you're like, all right, we got to be so much better in these areas. But it's a learning thing, right? And if you're competitive, and a guy like Cade, he's competitive.
Wisdom from experience. I've been here before. I failed the last time. Here's what I learned from that. It's what informs your entire offseason typically is how you lose in the playoffs for those playoff teams. And you should replay those memories many, many, many times over. And you're building a callus, in a sense, of emotional callus. It's not impervious to stress. I mean, the best players still make mistakes, and Chris Paul, they all do. It's just they tend not to panic from those mistakes and let one bleed into 2, bleed into more. And that's what Detroit's got to go through. But either way, I definitely want them in the top 6. And Detroit is one of my favorite cities. I've never spent any time there, but some of my favorite people from Detroit. And what it represents is meaningful to me. So
Motown, Motor City, all that.
Yeah, I bought a watch, a Shinola watch. It's originally a Detroit-based company. Yeah, just because I love the city. So never rooted for the Pistons or the Lions. Root for the city really well. Right. So yeah, they've got a nice little future ahead of them. They've got a bunch of young players. Jaden Ivey, he'll be back next year. Oscar Thompson has a lot of talent to grow into. Yeah, they can add a nice free agent and jumpstart everything.
And so this is the point right now. If you're a fan of a franchise, so if you're like Detroit and you're in this kind of position, this is when the hope and the excitement is high because first of all, we're way better than last year, right? Already we're playing meaningful basketball. Let's just start there. Last year, there was no such thing as meaningful basketball. You won 14 games. So basketball was over for you by Christmas. Season was over.
Christmas?
Oh,
Halloween.
It is about to be March, and you are playing meaningful freaking games. So meaningful, in fact, as David just said, you can be a 4 seed. Like that. So that is a win in of itself. And you can see the future. If your GM and your ownership group think about things the right way and build and plan, you're like, wait, we can be a team that, as David loves to say, every year you win 48 to 50 games and you have a chance to contend. Like, wow, who would have thought this was possible a year ago, right? But here you are. Now, we know how the NBA is, and it's a perilous league. Shit looks good one day, and then the next day, disaster. So, as David says, get off the roller coaster, enjoy the merry-go-round. Let's just find the joy in what's happening right now and hope that the powers that be for the Pistons continue to do the right thing. All right. We'll be back after a brief commercial break. All right, David, we have to talk about the other team in the Western Conference who has a good record. But I just watched this team, David, as you know closely, and there's just something I don't like, and they're missing things, and that being the Memphis Grizzlies. They are 10-5 in the last 15 games, so a perfectly fine record. But their defenses have been ranked 20th. And that was a point for them, which had been very good for most of the season. But in these last 15 games, they're down to 20th. Rebounding is a huge issue for them.
Yeah.
And so let's get to there first. And then I have like a Ja thing that I'm concerned about.
Well, yeah, I mean, they don't rebound well. That is Triple J's kryptonite. Not a great rebounder. Salty Aldama is not going to. I mean, he does fine, but he's not going to help that much as the 4.
And when you have Edey in there, he does rebound, but
yeah, he's still not good. I mean, he's a rookie, so
right.
he's got a chance. So the hulking 5 to play next to Triple J, the Steven Adams role, has not been solved. That has not been filled. Has not been solved. So, they're shooting great. They shoot really well, despite John not shooting well. And so they're really good. They're just a good step below in the top. To me, the top 4 teams.
Yeah.
When you're top 5, they're my 5th best team because the other 4 are just significantly better.
I agree. And so when something about Ja, David, and by the way, it should be noted, Desmond Bane is ascending back again. He's shooting well, he's assisting, playing downhill. I mean, he's awesome.
Playing really well.
Jarod, as we've been saying all year, all NBA. Lately, the past couple of games, though, he's been getting into foul trouble, which he hadn't been all season. And I'm like, bro, at this stage of your career,
don't start that.
You cannot be you're an all NBA player. You can't be in foul trouble. Like, that's got to end. But something about Ja, David, and Henry and I talked about this last week, and I called it sort of the perilous nature of superstardom. This is a guy 2 years ago that was all NBA second team, ascending. Everything was looking bright and rosy. And we all know what happened with the guns and the suspension and the injury. And he just hasn't looked like himself all season. And I know some of he's been banged up a little bit, but you know, you talk about guys playing with joy and look, it doesn't have to necessarily always be a smiling kind of thing, but a level of excitement and yeah, man, I'm loving this and that disposition to dominate. And I just feel like, David, all of that is sapped from him this season. I don't see any of it anywhere. And to me, I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, in order for the Grizzlies to be championship contender, he has to be the best player. I think he has to be very good. I think Jarod can be their best player, but Ja has to be better than he is right now. And something about his spirit, not so much the gameplay, his spirit, but is bleeding over into his gameplay, which something's just not right.
I mean, when you think of Ja Morant as, you know, one of the more athletic guards we've seen, I mean, he's not Russell Westbrook. He's not built like Russell, but he's very, very athletic. He's just more slight. It was his death-defying rim finishes that just isn't the same. He's not a good rim finisher.
No,
he doesn't make. And maybe I haven't looked to see if his attempts are down, but he doesn't have that rim threat that he did.
No,
and let me look right now. What's he shooting from 3? I don't think it's very good.
Not great.
29.7. So yeah, he's it's a work in progress. Maybe, let's hope. Right? He's get to finish at the rim better, get to shoot better. Athleticism alone doesn't work in this game.
No.
And for whatever reason, he's kind of dropped his skill game a little bit.
Yeah.
What was did he try to dunk on someone the other day? It was yeah. Did he do it?
He did it, but it didn't count because after I'd already blown the whistle. But he did. He actually dunked. The dunk just didn't count because the whistle was already blown. But he went up there, and so I love that piece of it. What I'm seeing too, David, is you mentioned the finishing not happening, and with the finishing not happening at the rim, what's happening is that cardinal sin that I know you as a coach hate. Misses the shot, thinks he's fouled, so he stops complaining to the ref, and then whoop. And I'm like, now we're 5-on-4 on the other end because you're too busy worrying about this shit down here. And it's all things that were never part of his game before. Like, he just, go on and get back up. And that thing just bears noting. And it's a little thing, but that little thing is a big reason why, to your point, they're not up with the other 4 teams, right? It's because he isn't.
You've got, so you can have one incredible player and no other all-stars and contend. That's the Denver Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
He's never played with an all-star.
Right.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But Triple J is not Nikola Jokic.
No.
He's not even in the same universe
as
Nikola. Nobody else is either for that
matter.
Well, Chamberlain, maybe. So yeah, so you got to have multiple, high level players.
Mhm.
Was he an All Star this year? I didn't watch the game.
Ja? No.
Yeah, that's what I
He's
thought.
not going to make anything because he's not going to have enough games.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
Right. So he's yeah. So uh, we. I say this a lot to players. You overpenetrate when they're. My guards that overpenetrate get really mad. You got to stop. You got to stop. That's why I developed the whole term second box.
Second box. Mhm.
Is the first box is a nightmare for these little guys, and but he is different,
Mhm.
and now he's not so different, and so you're gonna have to make an adjustment. Either learn to finish better again, figure out what's wrong,
Mhm.
or stop doing it and grow your game, which is absolutely possible.
Yes, for sure.
He just has to do it.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised because with all that time off, David, I thought he'd come back a better shooter, and that just has not happened. I was like, well, what were you
Yeah.
working on? Were you working on anything? Like, I know you were working, but the shooting doesn't seem like that's what you were working on.
It's
And
really hard. It's really. I don't mean to sound self-serving because I'm
no,
telling
you talk about this all the time.
every night when my guys don't shoot well, I think I'm a fraud. I don't have imposter like this. That is not a syndrome that I have, but I do question myself. It's a fucking hard league. It's a hard game, and I just don't get too high
Mhm.
because if I do, I know I'm going to get really low because guys are and most guys don't have that problem solved. The guys that I've coached that have been great shooters or weren't great shooters, but then have 3, 4, 5 straight years of it, I don't worry about them anymore.
Right.
It's a very lovely feeling to have to know that they're good. That's not the case though with my guys that are more up and down. I just know a slump is coming, and
of course.
you try to hold on as long as you can, ride that horse as long as you can. It's just really hard to do, and
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work, and everyone's different. I wouldn't. I was interviewed by somebody the other day asking, first on the record about what I did with a certain player that's improved a lot
Mhm.
this year, and I said I'm not telling you. And then after he's like off the record, I said you wouldn't understand, and it's not even relevant
Right.
because if what I do for this guy doesn't mean this other guy needs to do the exact same thing. They might have very different problems. It's not an easy thing. Memphis does value player development for sure.
Mhm.
I didn't know that, but a friend of mine told me that they definitely do, and it's a friend that I trust. They've got to work out for him this offseason with him because for Ja, as he ages, the rim stuff isn't going to be as great. Someone like Kyrie won't have the same drop off because he doesn't rely on athleticism anyway.
Right. And
It's
he's
more
an
talent
excellent
and
shooter.
craft. And he's an excellent shooter too,
Mhm.
but Kyrie is also a magician at the
Yes.
rim. He defies physics
He's so
because he doesn't jump at it. I mean, how many
Right.
dunks does he have a year? 2?
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just incredibly gifted and also has worked his ass off to develop those
Mhm.
gifts. And these amazing singers you see or hear, they have to work at that. They're not
Yes.
singing like that without work.
Right.
Same thing with anything else. So the Grizzlies, I'm sure they're already thinking about what else we have to do to help Josh shoot better.
So something I've heard you mention before is, does a player possess shooting talent? Now, when you say shooting talent, what do you mean by that?
Some of that talent just can kind of throw the ball in. So a guy that doesn't have great form but ends up shooting decently, I'm really intrigued with those guys because when we clean up their form, because they tend to get in their own way mechanically,
Mhm.
but they've just got a feel for it. And I'm sure it's similar like I would never be a good race car driver. I'm afraid to go fast.
Mhm.
My car can really go fast now, so I'll punch it to 45 from 0. I'll put it on the
Yeah.
fast and boom,
Yeah.
but make sure no one's around. I ain't
Right.
going 90. If I
Right.
do, I've gone 90 and I'm upset about it. I'm like, oh my God, these cars are so fast these days. I don't have that talent, but some people do. They just feel comfortable. Some guys can just throw the ball in. And so, like a race car driver still got to learn technique. Well, a golfer's got to learn the same thing to refine his talent. Shooting, you got to do the same thing. So you got to clean it up if they have a natural eye for it. Some players have beautiful looking form and just can't make a high percentage. Either their brains get in the way, or lack of confidence, overconfidence, shot selection, or they just have bad depth perception. I'm not a scientist on that. They just can't seem to put the little round thing in the bigger round thing. They can't do it. Not
Mhm.
consistently anyway.
Which, by the way, as we've pointed out, is not easy. Like, it's fucking hard to do that. Like putting a round
hard
ball
in games.
Yeah.
First thing I would say is how you doing the practice every day. First
Mhm.
question I always ask my players if they're struggling to shoot over the course of a week or two. How's things going? Your workouts each day? Coach, I'm killing it. All right, well that's a good sign.
Yeah.
If they're not, okay, we got another problem.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. It's been a few weeks now, David, since the Luka Doncic trade, but I still feel like every other day something new's coming out and there's more fallout around it. What are you seeing out there that people are saying that you're kind of like people are still missing the boat on this Luka Doncic situation?
Well, I would say it's not necessarily missing the boat anymore as much as it's now they kind of recognize, oh, what a mistake that was. I mean, good gracious. It was from the second it happened, the worst trade of all time. Yeah. I really believe that.
Yeah.
I wrote this. Not since the Celtics were able to acquire Bill Russell
for the ice capades.
For the ice capades, the ice follies. Yeah. It's terrible now, and it's only going to get worse when whatever. I mean, if they can trade AD for Jalen Williams. By the way, possible. I'm not saying at all likely.
Right. But yeah, sure.
But if OKC wanted to get a perfect guy to Chet, AD would be it. Well, then it's not as terrible short term. Still gonna be terrible long term. JD just doesn't have the talent Luka does.
No.
And for the Lakers, you guys got the gift of gifts. I hope you don't fuck it up.
It's so funny you say that. I was saying this to somebody yesterday. They were a Laker fan, and they're super excited about everything. And they're like, man, we finally beat Denver, a team that we struggled with all the time. And I said, curb your enthusiasm. I was channeling my inner David, and I was like, look, if I were a Laker fan, what I would be concerned about is my team going to do the right thing over the next several years to maximize this gift that just dropped into our laps? And he's like, oh, what do you mean? Him and LeBron are great. I go, yes. LeBron also makes almost $60 million a year, but is performing
40.
like a $24 million a year player.
Right.
Will he be willing to take that kind of money so that you can then have more space opened up to do the other stuff? I'm like, okay. Because I know you need that, right? It's not LeBron and Luka are not enough. Like,
no.
Especially as the years go on. LeBron ain't getting younger. I know he's defying all of our expectations. He's amazing. Yeah. But Dave, if you look at EPM, he's 52nd in estimated plus minus right now.
Yeah.
He ain't top 10 or 20 or 30. Like, so, but he's being paid like a top 5 player. And in a salary cap league, that matters.
Of course.
So will they do something different? And will he I'll stay and I'll take less to do? I have no idea. I don't know what they're going to do. But that's something I'd be worried about.
It'd be great if they could get Dallas's centers. That worked out pretty good for Luka. Those guys are really good fits. Yeah, get Kyrie to come in. They seem to play pretty well together in the playoffs last year. Yeah, they need some more help. They've got a lot of good players now.
They do.
But to your point, how do they manage it going forward? They got the hardest piece done.
Yep.
It wasn't hard. They took a phone call. Yes, please. Like that's how that conversation went. Okay.
Do you want a $1 billion? Yes.
Right. Rush it to the trade call, and let's get that done before they change their minds. Because they backed out on the Mark Williams deal.
Yes. Yeah.
I think anyway, but they didn't back on Luka, which is smart. Dallas should have done that. Yeah. So now they're on the clock. Not now, but starting in the fall, starting the summer with the draft. Who are they picking? They should be picking veteran guys that can help them win by April. Don't worry about prospects. Let's get veteran guys that can fill a 10-minute per half or 10-minute per game role all spring of 2026. Yeah, we'll see how they do with that.
A 22, 23-year-old guy like Jalen Wells, right, who the Grizzlies got in the second round, who is he's a plus player right now. Like, that's what you need, someone who can help you win today, because you don't have, all right, in 3 years, no. Like, it doesn't matter if he's not going to be. You don't need another 25-point per game scorer. You got fucking Luka. Like,
it's why they canceled the Mark Williams trade, because Mark Williams still represented a question mark. We don't really know what he can do. He's got more upside than Dalton Connect, in my opinion. He also has a worse downside. His floor is much lower. Dalton Connect should be a quality performer. Offensively, shoot it, make plays offensively. Maybe defensively a minus a little bit, but there's still a need for a guy that can score and shoot and grow into that role. And so they need to get guys like that.
Yeah. And you wrote an article about this a month ago now, where you talked about that's the next piece of the teams are going to start doing that. The teams that have good players already, let's get guys who can help us win on day one. Now, will teams actually do that? I'm a little less dubious. I'm dubious about that. We'll see. Time will tell.
I am too.
All right, top 5 time. I think we're gonna have the same 5. David, who's on your 5 line?
So I've got one team in the 5 line, and then I have a 4-way tie for first.
So on the
I'll
5 line,
explain it.
we both have the
Memphis.
Grizzlies on our 5 line. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my top 4: Denver, Boston, Cleveland, OKC. We can quibble over who deserves to be where.
Right.
Probably Denver doesn't deserve to be number 1, but they have won 10 of 11, I believe.
Sure have.
And I think they have a big game tonight. I think Milwaukee maybe tonight. I don't remember who they play tonight, but I know they have a game tonight. I think that all 4 of those teams to me are right there to have a chance. And again, the Lakers and the Warriors aren't on my top 5, but because of who they are and because of those other teams being as flawed as they are, that's why I have them on our championship bus. I do think they have a chance. But give me your 4 in order.
My 4 is Nuggets, 3 Celtics, 2 Thunder, 1 Cavs. And to your point, because those teams are flawed, right? With Memphis being a 3 seed, you could easily see a scenario where if somehow the Warriors or Lakers are the 6 seed, that either one of those teams can beat Memphis in round 1. Even forget about injuries, just straight up beat them, right? Because of the issues that Memphis has that we talked about. And then of course we talked about Thunder and their lack of experience, the Nuggets' lack of depth, right? So that's why those teams are all bubbling and lurking right there.
And I had the same list as you, except I flopped. I didn't really put a lot of time into it. OKC, Cleveland, OKC.
Right. It's just
I like that OKC lost to Minnesota.
That's good for them.
That to me that's going to wake them up a little bit more, humble them a little bit more, and so I get them playing more urgency more often. And following up with a win at Brooklyn, which isn't always the easiest place. Brooklyn's not terrible. They're losing more lately now, but they're spunky.
I mean, they want to be losing.
Yeah, I know.
But their guys are competing.
They're starting to figure that out. But yeah, so I have the same as you, except I had OKC 1, but it's not the same. Them in Cleveland and Boston, Denver, all right there to me.
That game tonight is Nuggets versus Bucks, so that will be an interesting one. And I believe the Cavs have a good one coming up too. They go to Boston on Friday night, and that'll be again another Eastern Conference Finals potential preview. You and I both think that all things being equal, that should be a 6-7er game series if both teams get there. And boy, how exciting will that be? Like a game 7 for Cleveland at home, going back to the LeBron days, the last time they had something like that.
I've got a lot of stuff going on in March. I'm not going to look forward to what you're saying. I hope I would not. I hope it would be a great series. There'll be some other the Knicks and the Bucks or the Pacers shock some people. That'd be fun too. But Cavs Celtics is 2 heavyweights battling it out.
And then what would the ideal Western Conference Finals matchup be?
I think Denver Lakers would be great.
Oh,
just because of what's happened in the past there.
And Denver and the Lakers not being like, we have ourselves now. It's Luka.
Yeah,
that's ourselves.
Exactly. We got our white European. Yeah, our tall, kind of non-athletic white European. Yeah,
we'll see your white European and raise you another.
Right. Meanwhile, Denver's like, hold my beer. Yeah, they got Jokic. Really. That's like, that's just, there's no one like him. He is the king right now. He's not going to win MVP. Shea deserves the MVP.
Shea for sure deserves it. Yes.
And also, he's also a brilliant problem solver. I don't think he's at the level of Jokic or LeBron because he's not the passer they are. But as a scorer, he's exceptional.
He's also not as big as them, right? Size matters. Yeah. That's a huge plus in being able to do all that shit when you're 6'8", or in Jokic's case 7 foot. Like
in Jokic's case, it's just it's unfair, but it's fair to him.
It certainly is. All right, guys, programming update for you. This will be the last TrueHoop podcast for a while. Got a lot of things we're working on behind the scenes, and we hope to be back shortly before the season's over. But just a little programming reminder for you, but stay locked into TrueHoop.com, and you can see all the wonderful musings from David and Henry and everybody and on what we're thinking about what's happening as we get to the stretch around this NBA season and head towards the postseason. Hopefully, no more injuries, but, that's like freaking praying in the wind, which, no guarantees on that. All right, everybody,